Welcome to Reading Between Deadlines, a podcast with two authors who read books with the same crazed enthusiasm as we write them. Rachel Johns is a Diet Coke addicted best-selling author writing rom-com, rural romance and women's fiction. And Anthea Hodson is a coffee addicted victim of menopause who writes historical fiction and won't shut up about it. Together, we run the Rachel Johns Book Club and travel the country, reading, writing, talking and drinking wine, because we're a bit classy. Join us as we delve into some worldwide bestsellers to see what makes them tick and to see if we love them as much as we love writing. The end. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Reading Between Deadlines. My name is Anthea Hodson. I'm here with my great mate,
Rachel Johns. At least I hope.
You sound surprised.
I was like, I hope that I'm your great mate. There's not a ghost in there you're talking about that I can't see.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm here with my great mate that is you.
Okay.
You with all your experience with the reading and the writings. We are here because we love talking about books.
Rather than actually writing our own.
Yeah, look, anything's better than actually writing our own at the moment, Rach. I've got a big spoiler warning because we've got such an exciting book to talk about today. It is Swept Away by Beth O'Leary, who I love. So I do have to warn you guys that there will be spoilers and we're probably almost instantly about to spoil things for you. So if you haven't read it, please go away and come back later to discuss Beth with us or listen to us discuss Beth.
Yes, there are some twists that are spoilers, really. Yes.
And yeah, literally we could spoil this for you. So you've been warned. How did you read this book?
Oh, how did I read it? Sorry, I'm just off with the fairies, I'm just like watching.
You've been swept away.
Yeah, I'm just, happy with you just talking away. Well, I listened to this book and so I don't always listen and it's hard a bit when I listen because I didn't take as many notes because I like, but I'm not going to say any more about my listening until we chat about it. But one thing we like to do here on Reading Between Deadlines is look at the author's bio, let you know who's written the book, and then we'll tell you a little bit about the book, maybe. So, Beth O'Leary is a Sunday Times best-selling author whose books have been translated into more than 30 languages. She wrote her debut novel, The Flat Chair, which I'm pretty much sure everyone has heard about, on the train journey to and from her job at a children's publisher. She now lives in the Hampshire countryside, which just sounds delightful, and writes full-time. So her latest book is Swept Away, and we chose it actually. Well, I think I suggested it because we've both read all of Beth O'Leary's books, I'm pretty sure.
I realised there's one I realised I haven't read, but yes.
Oh, what one haven't you read?
The one in the hotel.
The Wake Up Call.
Wake Up Call I haven't read.
Haven't you? I thought you
I
had.
didn't realise that today because I was looking through it. Hang on.
I really liked that one. That was one of my favourites because I've listed them here in order that I liked them. Anyway, so yeah, Beth O'Leary, the reason we choose books here, we do books that are hyped or really big bestsellers, people who have really, really made it in their career. And I think The Flat Chair really shot Beth O'Leary into the stratosphere. Is that what I'm trying to say? Like, it was this such unique story of, if anyone hasn't read it without spoilers, it was like two people who shared a flat in London but had never actually met. It sounds almost impossible. And they fell in love before they'd actually
There were post-it notes involved.
Yeah. So it was a very high concept premise, I think, and that's a word that's often tossed around the publishing world. Yeah. Yep. And then it got made into a movie. Was it a movie or a series, actually?
Well, I think it was a series, so like maybe a 4-parter, maybe a 6-parter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we chose Beth, because she is big and we like to unpack books that have been really successful. But one of the reasons I really wanted to do her latest book is the concept. Again, it seemed really high premise to me and really fun. So do you want to read the blurb? Have you got the blurb there?
Yeah, I've got the blurb here. So it is Swept Away. Two strangers find themselves stranded at sea together in this epic new love story by best-selling author Beth O'Leary. What if you were lost at sea with your one-night stand? Zeke and Lexi thought it would be just a fun night. They had no intentions of seeing each other again. Zeke is only in town for the weekend to buy back his father's houseboat. Lexi has no time for dating when she needs to help take care of her best friend's daughter. Going back home with a stranger seems like the perfect escape from their problems, but a miscommunication in the dark, foggy night means no one tied the houseboat to the dock. The next morning, Zeke and Lexi realize all they can see is miles and miles of water. With just a few provisions on the idle boat, Zeke and Lexi must figure out how to get back home. But aside from their survival, they're facing another challenge, because when you're stuck together for days on end, it gives you a lot of time to get to know someone and to fall in love with them.
Ooh. So I love houseboats, or the concept of house,
Oh,
the idea of living on a houseboat. So I thought that was fun. And then
yes.
the idea of being swept out to sea and being lost at sea with your one night stand, that did seem really, really fun. I do
Yep.
have a question though, because I was telling my husband about the premise of this book the other day, and he's like, but why was it unhooked in the first place? If the houseboat was, where it was stationed, where it was, how did it get loose? Like, you don't rehook a boat up every night because they were at the pub or whatever. So why was it loose?
I don't know. I'd have to reread that bit. I'm
Yeah.
sure they thought about that. Maybe they,
Just
in the
reminded me in the blurb
there
when you
was
read it.
confusion about whose boat. So maybe she unhooked, thinking that thinking that he had the other end of it, and then hooked it onto a thing, and it was actually part of the boat. And so she thought she was
Yeah,
unhooking.
I'm sure I can't remember the part either,
I
and
feel like they will have covered that. I don't
I'm
remember.
sure it was explained.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, anyway, so that's why we chose it because the concept just sounded really unique and fun, and we've mostly loved Beth O'Leary's other books. I don't think I'm as huge a Beth O'Leary fan as a lot of people. I would say that I like the flat share, but I wasn't like hyped about it. My favorite of hers is The Road Trip, which a lot of people's least favorite.
Mine too, actually.
Do
That's one
you,
of I'd say that probably is my favorite as well.
oh,
I loved Flatshare as well because just she's so funny.
I
So I
love it
really
too,
enjoyed
and
it.
I like the wake up call. I didn't really adore the switch or the no show, but again, I listened
Sure.
to the no show and think maybe even the switch on audio. Anyway,
Oh,
and it
okay.
can really affect your experience.
Yeah,
But before we tell everyone what we thought of the book and do our rating, do you want to explain for any new listeners, and apologies to those listeners who have been with us for a while, how we do our ratings and the rules?
I'm going to go super fast. And again, get out of the room if you haven't read this book.
Because we're
Um,
about to spoil it for you.
Rachel and I have a system wherein we do a kiss, kill, or marry for all the books that we read on the podcast. Obviously, kiss we enjoyed, obviously, marry we adored, and obviously, kill we possibly would not have finished it if we hadn't had to. It's very broad, but we will discuss more nuance as we go on. I will do a countdown and we will give our ratings at the same time because we are keen not to collude or influence each other in any way before we give our ratings. So we have not discussed this book. Rachel,
I
are
was
you
going to say, hang
ready?
on, I just want to say it's painful not discussing it with you because I discuss almost everything else with you about the writing and book world and family, almost everything.
And every now and again, I do let slip and go, and anyway, blah, blah. And they go, oh, no, no, no. Now I've let one paw of the cat out of the bag. So I have
Well,
to be very
don't listen to one of the episodes I just recorded with Dear Rachel and Soph because I accidentally said something about the next book. So
come
we're
up to
banned
date.
from Dear Rach and Soph until we've done our next
I've just
one.
listened to Rachel and Soph, so maybe the next one's not safe for me.
All right.
I'll do a countdown and go, and you get ready to
Okay.
rate. Ready? 3, 2, 1, kiss.
Kill.
I'm so impressed. Oh my goodness. I
She
didn't
who killed brother
think
of the more famous Jack. No,
yeah. No, that was an easy kill for me.
I
This
feel
was
terrible killing this book because Beth O'Leary, I think, writes in a similar genre to me. I
yeah.
follow her on Instagram. I don't know her, but I feel like she's more close to me than some of the other books we've read in some bizarre, weird way. I have met her agent face to face in an Australian conference, so it feels like a huge betrayal to say kill. It's a bit like why I decided long ago I wasn't going to rate books.
Yes.
Because if I know anyone, like I wouldn't want to give them anything less than 5 stars. And although I don't know Beth, there's just some weird thing here that feels like a betrayal. So I was erring between kiss and kill, and I
Yes.
wonder if I read the book, if I would have kissed it, not killed
Right.
it,
Yes.
because the narrator while she was a good, or he and her, there was two narrators, and while they were good, it was
Yep.
the sexiness that they, some of the sexy things or the things of attraction, I was just cringing. And some of the wording of things just sounded so cliched when it came to the attraction. And I feel like I was being told that they were connecting. But I have a feeling that if I'd read it,
Yes.
may have been a different story.
That is so interesting, Rachel. I'm very impressed that you are game enough to kill because we both know she's a great writer
Yeah,
and
I've
she's
loved a lot
funny,
of her books.
entertaining. Yeah, we've both really
It's
enjoyed
my
her books.
least favorite of all her novels.
Same. I will say same. But because I enjoy her so much that even though this is down way down the list for me
Yeah.
in terms of enjoyment, still I still enjoyed it and I still because actually I was with you and I read this rather quickly
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
But
So that's the other thing that you read it in
it wasn't
Bali.
finished.
You read
Sorry?
it in Bali, right? Most of it.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I'm in a better mood to read books when I'm on holidays. I'm
Yeah.
more likely to feel
Yes, equally mine.
favorable towards something because I'm more relaxed in general. I'm not annoyed that my kitchen sink is full of dishes that I didn't, you know, do. I'm not like that
Yeah,
was a
you've
very
got time
relaxing
to
holiday.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, all you're going to do is go down and have another margarita in an hour. So
Exactly. So
that's
maybe if I'd
oh,
read it rather than listened, but I think the other thing is I probably hyped it up in my head a little bit too much because I
yeah,
did think the premise was really cool
yep,
and really original. So
yep.
I had higher expectations and they weren't met.
Yes, and I
Um,
think when you're one of those major writers, like a Beth or a Leanne or someone, you go in with such high
yeah,
expectations that I think that we are tougher on these high echelon authors because they are so strong, such great writers. We enjoy them so much that I think we then can be a little tougher on them sometimes.
yeah.
And I've got to say, I agree with what you're saying. I had another larger problem with the book,
Oh,
generally speaking. But I did enjoy it, and I found it to be a good read. But yeah, it's definitely not my favorite Beth O'Leary.
I've
Definitely.
written down here, and I'm curious in a minute to hear about your large thing. I wrote a few notes because, as I said, most of the time when I'm listening, I'm cooking or doing cleaning, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
harder to quickly dash stuff down. So only towards the end, I thought, oh, I better write some things down so I remember. I wrote like it's a strong trope book. It's got forced proximity and the one night stand, and I guess in jeopardy and stuff. But I said it's a very fun premise, but to me, the execution was a letdown.
Mm.
And I think there was a combination to me, and again, we're getting spoiler territory probably, of the relationship between them. The characters, I didn't feel invested. I didn't like them. They were too boring to me to have an opinion on them. And
Really?
yeah, did you feel that?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't feel, and this is probably gets back to my main problem with this book, but I didn't feel the tension between them particularly, and I felt as if he was an underconfident kind of young
Yeah, which
guy,
I think I wrote that. I
which
think
I had sympathy for, but which was
he's
not.
always going on about what an idiot he is. And I
And
said, it's
he's
not really appealing hero
uh,
material for me. Maybe that's like,
yeah, fine.
showing my faults, but
Yeah,
and
but it's a romance, so
I suppose in a romance, as we've said before, you don't want someone who's completely perfect at the beginning. And
oh, you definitely want
that's
some.
his flaws, right? One of his flaws is that he's got a lack of self-confidence due to his
And the lie he tells himself is that
upbringing.
he's an idiot, and he's not.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I also found her
Hey.
uh, a little unlikable as well,
Yeah.
like a little bit unlikable. I found she was quite harsh, and I think she she was I guess she was friendly, but she was quite brittle at times.
It
But I
was. I didn't really see why they were attracted to each other.
yes, I didn't get that at all. And he seemed so forgiving of everything about her that was kind of rude or prickly and go, oh, I'm just so
And he
blown away
was
by
almost, you know how they have the saying
oh, how can she climb a ladder? And I'm like, oh,
TSLE, no, too stupid to live. Anyway, you know how they have that thing.
yes.
I didn't think that. I think he was too boring to live. And like too
Yeah.
no, sorry, too nice to live. And let's face it, and
I
maybe
agree.
this is what she was trying to do, right? She wants to show, and I like this in one way, she wants to show a really good guy, nice guys in romantic fiction and stuff. But the nice girls don't want nice guys. We do want nice guys, but we want them to have personality and edge and a bit of fun to them. And I didn't find him fun or charismatic at
I
all.
but here's my other problem with it, and this is that touches on my main problem with it. Once she had put them both together on the boat, they've already had sex, and I'm immature, so that to me takes
Oh, that's right. You said that before.
I'm already a bit.
So maybe it should have been an enemies to lovers that somehow accidentally got
Exactly.
stranded on a
If
thing.
this was two people stranded, enemies to lover, I'm on board. So I was already a bit, how are you going to keep the tension now? Because they've already done it.
And then they just make this deal, we're not going to do it again because
And
we.
then, this was the thing. Then she tries, and I don't think successfully for me, but she tried to reinstigate the tension by going, oh, now she's worried that he is a knife-wielding psycho.
Oh, yeah, that only lasted a few moments though, right?
Yes, but that's why he said, no, so we won't have any more sex because we're in the stressful situation and you're too upset by it. So I will just stay away from you. And I went, bit contrived and a bit silly. And then they ended up on the oil rig thing.
Oh,
and then
I rolled my eyes so much.
Then he got injured, so we can't have sex because he's injured, even though he keeps casting the occasional longing glance and saying, oh, you sure I can't, touch you on the elbow? And I'm like, oh, this is not tension for me. Then they end up on the oil rig. Oh, she gets sick, so then no nookie because she's sick. And I'm like, you've got these people together. You're using every
contrived reasons why they can't.
Yeah, and it was really irritating to me. And then here's the next thing that irritated me, Rach. They discover they both love each other. I think they probably even say they love each other. For starters, another thing that irritates me, they get back on the boat off the oil rig. The boat is literally sinking and they're banging. I'm like, who?
Is it, life and death thing? It's like, well, I don't know. Probably not. I'd be looking to eat some chocolate or drink some wine. Like I'd be scavenging through
I was cry and scream if it was me because I'm a brave kind of person.
But you say you try and swim. Where are you swimming to?
Cry and scream. No, I'm not a good swimmer. I would not waste time to swim. No, I just scream. So I found that annoying. But the really annoying thing that I found, this does sound like I'm doing the thing where I've kissed it, but I actually want to kill it. But the really annoying thing
was because you like Beth deep down for some reason.
Yeah, well, in terms of enjoying the book, I actually quite enjoyed it because it had jokes.
Because you're in Bali, let's face it.
Yeah, it was Bali and it was fun. No.
Okay.
But not my favourite. So the other thing that annoyed me, Rach, they get back to the mainland, right? And then, having spent all this time getting to know each other's deepest souls, they get back to the mainland and she hears that he's actually the father of May, Penny's child. And she immediately, without having a conversation with him about that, just goes, oh, well, you're dead to me. How could you?
Because she assumes.
I went, do you know him or not? Are you in love with him or not? Because why would you not have a conversation about that? Because I feel like I know who you are as a person.
Yeah, and also I agree. Like it just like I can get why she would be like annoyed that she thinks he backed out on her friend. I mean, it was also it was very obvious to readers what happened, that he wasn't the type of guy that would have done that, and her friend had lied.
Yeah, exactly. And why was it not obvious to her, having been through this traumatic thing, fallen in love with the guy, had 15 dark nights of the soul,
You think there's some explanation?
Like that kind of guy who would walk out. And he literally said when he was young, he'd had all the 70 one-night stands or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And yet she goes, I'm not even having that conversation. It was a bit silly.
Yeah, I also found the fact that when they get off the boat and they're just both whisked away, he kind of just lets himself get whisked away. And it did felt a little bit childish, a little bit high school, I'm not going to talk to you kind of thing, after they just spent a huge, crazy time together, almost died together, had sex together, confessed their love together.
Yes.
What do you think of that conflict in the end? Like, in terms of, so the conflict for anyone listening who hasn't read it and doesn't mind spoilers is that, so they declare love after talking through all their issues on the boat and sort of making the other one feel more whole about themselves and all that kind of stuff. Like she makes him think, oh, maybe I'm not an idiot and I can stand up for myself and do all this stuff, and finds out truths about his family which help him adjust as a person, blah, blah, blah. And she decides that she can get over the fact he's younger than her. We need to talk about that in a minute. So she gets over all that. And then they go back and discover that he is the father of her friend's 4-year-old daughter.
Yes.
And that to me felt a contrived conflict too.
Yeah,
Like
because a
he's
friend
the
had
black
said
man.
that he had run out on her and had refused to have anything to do with the child,
Yeah.
which was a lie.
Lie. Yeah.
And so I don't recall, because it was a while ago now, but I don't recall Lexi being furious with Penny for having lied about that. But
I think she was a little bit briefly,
she was,
but got over it quickly because, she
yeah,
understands or something. If I remember
yeah,
rightly, so don't come at me, people, if I've forgotten that. But let's talk quickly, if let's go about the age gap, because I forgot that was another one of the trope. It was an age gap romance. He was
yeah.
21 and she was 30 or almost 30.
I feel like he was 23. Was he
Okay,
20?
23. Yes,
Early
maybe.
20s. You might be right.
Yeah.
Might be.
Anyway, no, yeah, 21 to 23, somewhere around that. I'm sure she said 9 years at some stage. Anyway,
I reckon she's 30. Yeah, I reckon she said
so
she's.
A,
Yeah.
it was really pushed. She kept going on and on
Yeah.
and on about
Not
it.
like it was 20 years.
Yet, I also felt that he felt a lot older and mature than her as a person and a character. And
Yeah.
she seemed to be the childish one. So to me, I don't think the age gap would matter because it seemed like they were pretty much on an intellectual, emotional
That was the thing, right?
par. But they
Yes.
kept going on about it so much. I just
Yeah.
wanted to my
Totally.
phone.
So that was the thing, is that she had these two characters that she's keeping apart. Maybe she just felt, gosh, I need even another
Well,
excuse to
that's what
keep
I'm
them
thinking.
apart.
Like,
But
yeah.
it was a very thin excuse, because as you rightly say, he was like, oh, I'm desperate to have kids and I can't wait. And how many do you want? If you're going to have an age gap thing, I think you probably need to introduce an issue that would keep them apart. Like, I really want to go and live in America and study in America for 3 years. That's my absolute goal.
And the woman's
Which
found
is,
desperately want kids, yet she's found that she's got,
yeah,
she's
she's got to do it in the next 2 years or
yeah,
not, or miss her chance or something. Because it didn't add tension, him going, oh, yeah, I'm slightly younger, but I'm keen to do all the things that you're keen to do. There was no tension there
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So
that just
I
felt
felt
also
it was just
contrived
another
to me.
contrivance.
And
Yeah.
then, okay,
Yeah.
I give her this. She managed to keep, in some ways, things happening because they were on the boat for like 12 days or something, which
Yeah,
I
something
was
like that.
shocked about. I would, and how they had quite a lot of alcohol still on there, and because they managed to get drunk one time, but I guess that was, in the boat.
That
The
would
other thing
just be,
I found weird, his father's logbooks are still in the boat, yet her mum had owned the boat for, which is
yes.
another coincidence. And right, her mum had owned the boat for a long time, not long, 4 years or something. Do you think the logbooks would have been disappeared by then? I felt like that was
In
pretty.
a secret compartment, Rach.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay. It's like when someone starts to annoy you,
That
everything
they happen to find.
annoys you. But
Yeah, I hear you.
what else about that? Nope, I've lost it. Oh,
But
that's
the only
right.
thing that came out of those logs that of interest was the father-son thing.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
truth is that he always thought his dad wasn't his dad, but it really was his brother
It
who,
was his
and he
brother
never
who,
felt like he fit in because of that. Well, he thought
yeah,
that was the reason why, but now he doesn't fit in just because he doesn't fit in.
that's
Um,
right.
but we have those lot of disasters that you mentioned. She got sick because of seasick. He
He
cut
got
his
stabbed.
hand, or no, she stabbed him or something. By accident, folks. It's not like
Yeah.
a
He
thriller.
fell on the knife, blah.
Yeah. And then the boat starts
Both starts
leaking
to take on
water.
water.
So they're all like reasonable things that probably might happen, right? Then they see a rig.
Yeah.
And we're like, yay, there's going to be people there. Well, of course, there's not people there. It's a deserted rig.
Yep.
I could get that it's a deserted rig.
Yep.
But then,
Yep.
after a few nights there or whatever, and some meals that he manages to make out of tin food, which are like gourmet, and it's just amazing.
He's like a member of the famous five. Like, you just have a tin of food, a tin of tongue, and you're all good to go.
That's true. Anyway, then is there a storm? Is that what happened? And
Mm.
the rig starts collapsing.
Of course it does.
Right? I'm like,
Really?
I'm finding this a bit far-fetched. Now, how often do rigs, I don't know, maybe they do, I should do my research, but I would have thought that rigs are made pretty damn good.
Well,
Well, unless that's why they deserted it, because this one was like built badly or whatever.
Maybe. Yeah. You could
Starts
fit
collapsing and they have to jump back in the boat, which is when you said it starts to like sink. And then, just in the nick of time,
oh,
they're
the
saved.
nick of time. Yes.
Anyway, I just found it all a bit far-fetched. And
I
think it's making me think about like high concepts like this.
Mhm.
In terms of, I heard the premise and I thought, wow, that's amazing. But how would you write that realistically in a romance, like
Yeah.
without all those, like,
You probably wouldn't do this.
yeah,
I don't know. I reckon enemies to lovers could have kept the tension in there for longer.
yeah, because you could
I think
then,
the fact that they'd already got together and they already were super into each other.
tension was all external kind of thing. It was all
Yeah, it was all these
the
small
boats falling
journals.
apart and the rig
Oh, whoopsie, we can't
collapsing
have sex because you're
and all
injured.
that. And I guess, yeah, we want the tension to be emotional and internal and
And
really,
they, yeah, they
and the
did
will she, won't she? There was no like, we kind of knew.
already had.
I mean, in a romance, right, that they're going to get together at the end, and that's
Yeah,
fine. But it's how they go about it, and will she? And you still have that whole the tension wasn't there between them, really.
totally not. And they did have various internal journeys, but nothing earth-shattering. Like
Yeah,
they were quiet little moments and they shared quiet moments and got to know each other. But in that they were already together, it was mildly interesting. But it was very low stakes in terms of character arc, and it was one contrivance on top of another, even including his brother being the product of the affair and including May being his daughter. None of it really came from character. It just sort of
yeah.
was stuff that happened to them externally.
I just was saying before, I think that I don't know if I finished what I was saying because I always go off on track. I think it's made me think about high concepts,
Oh, yes, yes.
especially maybe just for romance novels. Like, is it
Mhm.
actually detrimental? Because then you're trying to live up to this amazing new fresh thing where the
Mhm.
good thing about romance novels and the really good romance novels, it's not necessarily that they're rewriting the book on and how romance is structured or anything like that. What's different is the characters are really appealing, really charismatic. The voice
Yeah,
just grabs
yeah,
you in there.
yep,
And
totally.
to me, I feel like maybe if you're trying to aim for a real high concept thing, you're concentrating more on making that work than
Yeah,
actually making
yeah,
the
yeah,
relationship between the characters and the characters work. I don't know.
totally.
I
Yeah, I
was
think
trying
a
to
lot of
think,
energy's on after that.
can you think of any like really high concept romance novels that you loved? Like a lot of them start with a
Oh,
fun, cute meet, which I guess this kind of the boat drifting away. You know what? Okay, because we're so good at like rewriting other people's novels on this podcast.
yes, we're very useful.
The better thing maybe would have been like I'm th leaning into your enemies to lovers thing here, right? You know how like this whole mistaken thing at the beginning with the boat, like he's just bought it back, but she thinks her friend still owns it, blah blah blah.
Yeah, yep,
What if they didn't meet up in the pub?
yes, way better.
She's drunk because she's annoyed,
Just the
stumbles
total
into the boat,
strangers and
falls
they're
asleep on the
irritated by it.
couch there,
Yep,
or something.
yep.
And then he's already asleep in bed because he's had like a long day driving up from London or whatever, and I can't remember where he's from. And then in the morning, they
They
wake
wake.
up and find each other and then realize they're out. But if you wanted to make that because they come from the same sort of place, that they had history before and they've like, they
Yeah,
hate each other or for some reason, or they went
yeah,
out in high school and now they're trapped together on to,
yeah,
because the other thing, I know when I was, written a few novellas, the advice from people is always it's much easier. And I've even heard Emily Henry talk about this. It's easier to write enemies to lovers than it is friends to lovers. And not that these guys are friends exactly, but,
yeah.
you know,
Right.
yeah. And if you're writing a novella that's kind of quick, it's better or easier to write if they already have history. Because,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
bring all that angst and energy and backstory onto the page. And so I think that could have worked really well out in the
Yeah.
ocean. So instead
Yeah.
of having that meet, they both like meet actually on the boat when they're already in the ocean and realize they're
Yeah.
trapped together with someone they actually can't stand or something. I don't know.
Yes, I would have much preferred enemies to lovers. They were already super into each other. He was already waxing on about how it was the most magical night of sex and he would never normally have done that anymore, but
What's
it was the
this?
greatest thing that ever happened to him. And I'm
Did
like,
you,
yeah,
did you feel like that in the beginning? Yeah, I was as well. That's what I
yeah,
wrote. Yeah, every time that they talked about sex or things like that, I roll my eyes literally because it just felt quite cliched in that, oh, suddenly I've just had this one night with this amazing person and now I'm in love.
revelation.
And,
Yeah.
and it just, I didn't ring true for me.
Yeah, totally. I don't know that. like the setup was great, but I think it presented too many problems, and I don't know that Beth, who is a total legend and I love her, but I don't know that she executed this well enough to keep the tension in the book. So I
That's how
enjoyed
I
it.
felt. As I said, I think I would have liked it slightly better if I read it because I do cringe eye rolly sometimes when I listen to Sexy
Mm,
Times on audio because it is very hard, let's face it, to
yeah,
read
it's
them
hard. Yeah,
out.
exactly.
I mean, it's hard to write sex scenes that sound not, you know,
Yes,
cliched, but then to read them out as well, I mean, it's
totally.
awkward. It's like you're in someone else's bedroom watching them have awkward.
Totally. It is funny, isn't it? It's that one, because reading something is very intimate and personal with you in the book. But yeah, once there's someone else reading it, it externalizes it that little bit more and and stuff can sound clunky really easily. And
Because the way you write something, you might not read it out loud that way. So,
yeah, totally.
you don't necessarily seem how clunky it is when but the way someone else puts like
Yeah,
emphasis on different set words and yeah, an audiobook can definitely make or break books for me. And there's books I think I wouldn't have liked at all if I'd read them, you know,
yeah.
or I wouldn't have liked them, but I wouldn't have enjoyed them as much. Or one of them was Taylor Jenkins Reid's Daisy Jones and the Six. I
Oh,
read that on audio. Have you read that?
I have read it, but I did not audioed it. I've
Oh,
read
so
it.
like, because you would have seen like it's all like interviews and different stuff, and the audio was great because there was like eight different
Oh, wow.
narrators,
Yeah,
and I just listened to it all without having to think about who was talking to who or read the
yeah,
interviews in a different format. So
yeah.
I found it really. I think I would have probably liked it had I read it as well.
Yeah,
Um,
it was great read.
but it really enhanced the experience. So I
Yeah.
feel like yeah, audio can make or
That's
break a book.
Honestly, it is really important to get audio readers right and to get production right on those things. So yeah, it is interesting to hear about your different experience because I think sometimes most of the books we do, I tend to listen to just for time reasons.
The most I read.
And yeah, and I suspect that that does affect me because I have been the tough judge a couple of times. So
We'll have to
um,
make sure that
it
some
does affect
books
me.
we actually read or both
Yeah,
listen, so we
yeah.
can actually have a mutual, like a level playing field.
Yeah, that's right. Because the next one I'm listening to
And I'm
and
reading.
you're reading.
Speaking
So
of,
yeah.
the next book we're doing on reading between deadlines is American Wife by Curtis Sittenfeld. And we're actually doing this one with our next guest author,
Yes.
Sophie Green. Um,
Green.
so she chose this book as one of the best books she's ever read. Anthea and I are not allowed to tell each other now what we're thinking. I am, probably about two-thirds of the way through. It's a long one.
Mm.
Um, but yes, that's our next book. And the book after that is Emily Henry's next book, which I keep forgetting the name of. I know it's got Big and Beautiful Life in it.
Yeah. Mm. If you can't remember, I can't remember, but I think I think
It's
it's a
called Great Big Beautiful Life. And after that, so I'd like to tell you the next three books that we have. So Emily Henry's one is one that Anthea and I are doing on our lonesome. But our next guest after that book is the lovely Tess Woods, who is a fellow WA author.
Yes.
And her choice for the book is Evening Class by Maeve Binchy. Have you
Mm.
read much Maeve Binchy before, Anthea?
Oh, I haven't. No.
I've read a couple of her books, but I have not read this one.
I,
And like she's got 100 books or something.
yeah. Yeah, she's busy.
So yeah, actually, I think even got somewhere on my bookshelf up here. I do. Look at this. Excuse me getting up for those who are watching
Looking
us.
forward to doing Maeve Binchy.
I have this book. I don't know, the Maeve Binchy's Writers Club. So I've got her.
Oh,
So anyway, I might dive into that. You know me. Well, if Anthea knows, but people not listening might not know that I buy a lot of writing craft books and I read maybe one or two pages and then they stay on my shelf. And I just hope that through osmosis I will,
absorb
become
them.
a genius. But I might have a dip into that before our chat with Tess.
Yeah, great idea. Let me know what tips you get, Rach.
Oh, I will, of course. Happy to share the writing genius with you.
I
Always.
need the help.
No, you do not need the help. You're an amazing writer. So I think that's it. Anything else we want to talk about with Beth O'Leary's book?
No, I don't think so. I was impressed at them having sex while their boat was sinking. Eugene the seagull, I liked him.
Oh, I did like Eugene the Seagull too.
He
I
gets
think
a
all
mention.
books can be enhanced with a fun pet. Or
And it was things like that. It was parts like that where Beth's humour came out really
and
beautifully.
that's why I think I was
Funny.
really
I
erring.
enjoyed
She was. I was erring between the kiss and the kill.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to be a little bit more harsh. Not harsh in
Yeah,
my
but
rating,
that's good. Harsh is
but
good.
like kisses, yeah. Anyway,
Because otherwise Kiss will be too broad. So we
exactly.
do
I
have
had
to
to
use the
feel,
full
yeah.
gamut. Yeah,
I
I totally
thought,
agree on that. I'm very
you know
impressed.
what? I thought it's a bit like with you saying with your DNF, you know,
Yeah,
if you would have
yeah.
DNF.
Not that I hated, but if I'm not engaged enough, then
Yeah. And I feel
fun.
like maybe it would have been DNF for me,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because there's so many other books on my to be read pile that I would, want to
yeah.
get.
And Rach, on a normal time, maybe it would have been for me if I had, if because I've usually got 4 or 5 books piled up, and if
Yeah.
this had been one of them, who's to say that other books wouldn't have gone, oh, I better read that, and I've got to read that, and then this maybe I wouldn't have. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it enough. And I read it quickly, but I was in Bali.
Okay, big final question for you.
Yes.
You've read everything that Beth wrote except The Wake Up Call, which I think you should read because I enjoyed it.
Yes, I shall.
Will you read another book from Beth O'Leary?
Yes.
Yes?
I don't have to think about that. What about you? Has she killed it for you? Has she?
I don't know. I'm really hit and miss with her books. Like I love, love, love some, and then I'm pretty ho-hum with the others.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
probably
Yeah.
I will, though I've got like because I liked the last one a lot, The Wake Up Call. So, maybe I'm in every second, Beth.
Maybe it's every second. Yeah. Maybe I'll give you the
Uh,
nod and I'll let you know if you should read it or not. I'll
yeah,
read it and then say, not for you, Rach. You're
yeah.
not going to.
That's a good idea. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening.
But if you want to be helpful to us, please don't listen again.
Because you'll only encourage us. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Reading Between Deadlines. Be sure to join the Rachel Johns Book Club on Facebook and follow us on Substack and Instagram. There you can share your thoughts on the books we're reading and even make suggestions for which novel we should subject to our Kiss, Kill, Marry rating next. Until next time, happy reading.